Hello everybody, Jason up, New 80s Revolution, welcoming you to the premiere episode of the TN80sR Half Hour Power Hour. Yeah, that's what we're going to call it, the TN80sR Half Hour Power Hour. Right now, question and answers, the way that you guys can get more involved with this channel. This is the show. The TN80sR Half Hour Power Hour is your opportunity. Your opportunity to speak directly to me through question and answer format. Send your questions in. I put out that request and many of you responded. We have several questions to get through in the next few episodes. 1.5 hour, 30 minutes of Q&A with the New 80s Revolution begins tonight on the TN80sR Half Hour Power Hour.
It's the New 80s Revolution with Jason Nupp, a one-and-all show full of fun where anything can and does happen. Pickups, fan mail, toy reviews, camping with the New 80s Revolution Jr. Whatever the heck else does not fit into a specific category, Jason covers it right here, folks. And now, the host of the New 80s Revolution, Jason Nupp.
All right, yes. Oh, thank you all. Thank you so much. Thank you. Yes, here we are. Here we go. The TN80sR Half Hour Power Hour starts right now, ladies and gentlemen. And I am excited to begin. Yes, indeed. The questions are here. Let's go through the format once more. I need questions from you guys. This show won't exist if we don't have questions from you, the loyal friends, the fans, the followers of the New 80s Revolution. We need questions from you. We need them sent to the following email address. I want you to send all of your questions to TN80R questions at gmail.com. Of course, that link will be down below, as the kids on the streets say. Let us waste no time at all, as we are working on a 30-minute time limit here, ladies and gentlemen. That's why it's called the Half Hour Power Hour. Let's get right into it. Let's hit up the first question here. Now, if you have sent multiple questions, which many of you did, I am going to probably answer 2 or 3 of your questions at a time, depending on how deep the answer gets. So if you asked, 12 to 14 questions, thank you very much, Upstate Johnny. If you asked that many questions, watch the next several episodes, and all of the questions will be answered, as personal as they are, as silly as they are. They will all get answered on this show now and in weeks to come. I have scrolled through the questions. I have not thought about any of the answers, right? So this is going to be kind of a off the cuff, right? Answers, right? I've looked at them, I've glanced at them, but there's so many that I can't give everyone thought prior to sitting right down here right now and answering. So let's kick it off. Oh, more stuff to tell you. Yeah, we'll kick it off eventually. More stuff to tell you. In your email with the questions, let me know how you want me to address you on the show. Many of your emails that you have sent to TN80R questions at gmail.com, many of your questions, your emails contain your name, like your real name. And I don't want to put your real name out there if you don't want it to be. So when you send a question, if you want your name called out on the air, which is what we will do, let me know that that's okay. If you don't, let me know that you don't. If you have a YouTube handle, include that in your question so that I can identify you by your YouTube name, which is how we all know you by in the comments section. Also, if you have a YouTube channel that you would like to plug, please include it in your question. I will mention your channel. I will speak about you highly. And yeah, let's do it that way. You know, let's include all the information you want. If you want me to say hi to your mom, if you want me to say hi to your kids, put it in the email, and I will oblige. Anything you want. You want me to tell the viewers to give your used car dealership a call? You got it. Put it in the email. Let's start. Let's get this show started. Mike Smith, because that is how he is known in the comments, Mike Smith. He says, what's one line you would want to collect that you don't already? Also, what's the reason behind it? So one toy line that I would like to collect right now that I don't already collect, and why? Toy line. There's a couple of toy items that don't necessarily come with a line. And the one, so I'll answer the toy line question, but the toy item that I am starting to have lots of feelings about is the LJN Magnum PI car and figure. A one and done type situation, right? LJN put out the Magnum PI Ferrari and the figure, the Tom Selleck Thomas Magnum figure. That goes for astronomical prices on the bay. We're talking, currently looking at the sold listings, a car alone, and it's really just a plastic, it's just a plastic car, guys. You know, kind of like the Dukes of Hazzard Mego car, it's just a plastic car. Think the Chuck Norris Karate Commando Corvette, same vein. A car sold for $250, and a loose Thomas Magnum figure sold for like $299. Do the math. Put those two together. We're looking at about $500 or $600 and higher for a loose plastic car and a loose 3 3/4 inch figure of Thomas Magnum. Boxed, forget about it. We're talking $1,500 or so. Toy line. Let me answer the question. That's why this half-hour power hour is really going to be, tight to get in 30 minutes because I talk too much. What is the one line that I would like to collect that I don't already? Probably either Cops, the COPS toy line that came off the short-lived cartoon, or Mask, right? Also the toy line that came off the short-lived cartoon. Now, I didn't have either one of them as a kid. But for some reason, well, not for some reason, but for many reasons, the toy lines interest me. They're probably so I think Mask is probably, the most appealing with all of its play sets and vehicles and action figures. I think Cops might have had a couple of vehicles and might have had a base. I think I'm going to get pushed one way or the other when I start watching either cartoon. And then looking at some of the prices. If the line is too deep, and if it's way too expensive, like silly expensive for figures, $200 for a figure, I won't do it. I know Mask can get pretty expensive. I don't know about Cops, but definitely Cops and Mask might be on the radar after G.I. Joe wraps up, which could be a year from now. But we'll see. Cops and Mask. He says, for some reason, our space, I think there's some current prices of the lines like Indiana Jones from Kenner. It's just too hard to find and expensive as hell. Thanks. I love the channel. Best regards, Mike Smith. Thank you, Mike Smith. Love all your comments. Yeah, little things like Indiana Jones, those little brief lines that had, a few figures. They're expensive. They're very expensive. So you got to be pretty passionate about the Indiana Jones line to go after it, But Mask, I've never looked at a checklist. I don't know how deep it is. I know like the Boulder playset is good sized and expensive. But we'll see. All right, this one is coming from I'm not gonna. I won't give your last name, but your first name is Jason. Your last name is L-U. It starts with L-U. My man Jason, he says, hey, your show, The New 80s Revolution, is awesome. I've been following your YouTube channel for a few months now. Here are 5 questions I'd like to ask. Okay, so we're going to do the first 2. We're going to do the first 2, and yeah, we're gonna save the rest of your questions. So I'm going to delete Mike Smith. Mike Smith, you're out of here. Thank you very much for your question. You're gone. And we're gonna answer the first 2 of Mike Smith of Jason L, and then we're going to save his remaining questions for the next episode. Okay, he says, have you seen the brilliant but canceled TV show Freaks and Geeks? Since The Wonder Years is one of your all-time favorite shows, and mine too, you might dig this cult classic. No, I have not seen it at all, but I will. You're not the first person that's mentioned Freaks and Geeks. I think, isn't Seth Rogen in it? Like young little Seth Rogen. I'm going to check it out. It's a short 1 season, I think. Yeah, I think it's 1 season. 1 or 2 seasons. But it's got to be somewhere on the streaming. I probably won't buy it unless I fall absolutely in love with it. But I will check it out. I have not, but I will. His second question, let's get rid of that. His second question is, since MTV is turning 40 on August 1st, who is your favorite video jockey? Who's your favorite VJ? You know, it was really easy to forget all about the early days of MTV because MTV destroyed itself. You know, MTV is not MTV. On YouTube TV, which is the streaming, you know, which is the way we have cable, you know, YouTube TV. I brought it back because Liam and I are full-on AEW watchers and followers. So that was the only way I could watch AEW, was to bring some kind of a cable network back. So I brought back YouTube TV. And since I was gone for like a year after they dropped the Yes Network. I was gone. Since then, they added a channel called MTV Classics, which I have not looked at yet, because their idea of MTV Classics is showing old episodes of The Real World. And to me, that's absolute crap. If you're going to do MTV Classics, you better stop it at 1989. Don't even go past 1989. I want to see Yo MTV Raps. I want to see Headbangers Ball. I don't want to see Total Request Live with, what's his name, Carson something or other. I don't want to see that. You know, I want to see shows from the 80s, the prime of MTV, right? Thankfully, that's been brought back. But like I was saying, we would have forgotten all about the original MTV VJs. But I've been a serious satellite subscriber for years. And they have a channel called the 80s on 8. And they brought back, they hired most of the surviving MTV VJs. Martha Quinn was there for a while. Alan Hunter was there. Nina Blackwood is there in all of her, you know, smoker voiceness. The question is, who's my favorite? I don't have passionate feelings about any of them. I think Martha Quinn is probably the one that I would have liked the most, because she was just, you know, she was just an innocent, you know, fun girl. You know, Alan Hunter was just vanilla. You know, Nina Blackwood, you know, I never really dug her look, you know, even back then. And now that she's aged, you know, she's holding on to that aging rocker thing. And that's, you know, that's kind of a turnoff, right? And that voice of hers, oof. We're not pulling any punches here tonight, ladies and gentlemen. We're not pulling any punches on the TN80sR half-hour power hour. No, indeed. Martha Quinn. I'll say Martha Quinn, and not really for any passionate reasons. I guess she was the most likable. That's it. You have 3 more questions that we will save for the next episode. So thank you, Jason L., for that. All right, next up, Retro X Redneck is his YouTube screen name, and he is often in the comment section. Retro X Redneck says, have you noticed in the last couple of years or so, more 80s stuff is being remade or remanufactured? Movies, toys, and even cassette players. What do you think about that? Do you think they will do more, or will it fade? Thank you, Retro X Redneck. I have noticed this. And I think my feelings about it will surprise you. On the Facebooks, they've been advertising and it says it's coming from Radio Shack, which I don't know if that's real or if that's just a gimmick, and it's like, somebody bought the name Radio Shack. But they're selling a boombox. Oh, it's down there. You can't see it. But they're selling a new boombox that plays cassette, AM/FM radio, and it looks just like a boombox with Bluetooth compatibility. And I think it's like 119 or 109, somewhere in that world. Again, I think you'll be surprised by my answer, because you wrote that you think that the cassette player was awesome. If I'm going to get something like that, I'm going to go to every flea market on the planet, every electronics recycling place on the planet, and I'm going to grab me a legitimate 80s boombox, because I'm not going to have. I honestly don't know how to hook up Bluetooth, so I wouldn't know what to do with the Bluetooth. I think like your speakers. Like the boombox can read your phone or something, and you can connect it that way, or you can connect the boombox to wireless Bluetooth speakers, like they talk to each other. I have no idea what that is. I really don't. So I don't like it. I'm glad that that these things are being. There was a VCR also on Facebook, and you know how those ads come up and you don't even really know if you're ever going to get the product. Don't ever buy anything like that. But there was a VCR that was popping up on my Facebook a few months ago, and they were selling a VCR for $299, and I think it was a DVD VCR combo. I think it might have just been a VCR, but a company made brand new VCRs with, I guess more modern guts, maybe more of a, more of a error-free, setup. Maybe it's not going to eat your tapes as easily as an old one was. But again, go to every Goodwill in the world, and you can get a VCR for $5.99. And if it doesn't work, you can throw it out. And you can go to the good old Family Dollar. You can get yourself a $5 remote. That's right, and program it to work that VCR, just like I do today. I've had about 15 VCRs. At one point, I had about 5 of them stacked down here. And, some would work, some wouldn't. I'd get them home, they'd eat the tape, I'd throw it out, I'd take a $5 loss, no big deal. But I finally found a Daewoo that works perfectly fine, and my $5 Family Dollar remote works just wonderfully well. I'm not going to pay $299 for a VCR. That's absurd. I'm going to go get one from a thrift store. So I like to see it, but I'm probably not going to contribute anything to that. I probably won't get it. There's enough of this stuff out there for super cheap that you don't need to buy into the new hype products. Especially if you're going to tell me that my VCR comes with a Bluetooth, is Bluetooth compatible. That's not happening. Especially since, if you get this stuff, and I'm looking for my Walkman, my packaged, I think it's back there, my cassette player, personal Walkman, personal stereo. Look, if I rip that out of the package today and put batteries in it, it's working. Right? So I don't need a more expensive one because all of this stuff is available. Right? Go get it somewhere else. Buy the original. Thank you very much, Retro X Redneck, for your support. Keep hanging out with us here on the channel. Up next, my man, Funky Monk. Go check out Funky Monk's YouTube channel. I sent you all there a while ago. I'm sending you there again today. 80s Slashers is his YouTube channel. 80s Slashers. 2 S's. 80s Slashers is his YouTube channel. And he has a very, very simple production. He just reviews and talks about horror movies from our decade and breaks it down year by year and what came out in 83 and what was hot in 85 and what are his favorites of 86 and, you know, some of the unknown films of 87. You know, that's what he does. That's what he's built his whole channel off. And it's growing, and it's good to see. So go check out 80s Slashers on YouTube. He has asked 2 questions, so he's going to get them both answered. Says, when you watch 80s TV shows on DVD like Magnum or A-Team, how do you handle those annoying episode trailers that play before every episode? I hate them because I don't want to get spoiled on the episode, and you can't easily skip them. So you have to fast forward and sometimes miss the beginning of the theme song. Your thoughts? Good. For the A-Team, I would skip them, and I think the A-Team was set up to where you could, you know, how the DVD remote has the fast forward arrows, but then it also has the skip arrows, so you can skip to the next chapter. And with the A-Team, the next chapter was the start of the show. So I could just hit skip and I would go right to the start of the show. Would I miss the opening credits and the opening theme song? Yes. But here's something surprising. I'm not a theme song guy. I don't want to sit through the theme song every single episode. I know that's weird. Golden Girls? Golden Girls I will sit through if you know, if I'm feeling it. But, you know, Magnum P.I. and the A-Team and MacGyver, I skip the theme song. And with my, you know, with that skip button, usually the chapters are set up to where you can skip right to the start of the episode. You know, that probably solves it for me because I'm okay missing the theme song. I really am. I know that's hard to, but I really am. I'll listen to it for nostalgia's sake. You know, once I start a new show, you know, I'll listen to the theme song once or twice, and then I'm skipping the theme song. Yeah. Now, Magnum, I will actually watch a little bit of the spoilers. Magnum is a kind of show where, first of all, I love it, and we're going to have an entire show dedicated to Magnum P.I. after I finish the series, and I'm 1 season away from finishing all 8 seasons of Magnum P.I., and then we're moving on. But I love it. But Magnum P.I. is the kind of show where you can't do anything else while you're watching the show. You can't be on your phone, right? Because you weren't on your phone in 1987, so stop it. You know, put the phone down, and don't be talking to anybody. You know, don't be distracted, because if you're distracted and you don't follow along with what's happening on the show, you're going to lose interest, and it's all going to kind of just blend together and be boring. So I sometimes like those. I like a few seconds of the coming, you know, the coming attractions for that episode. Magnum doesn't spoil it all that much. Usually they leave it with a little bit of a cliffhanger. So I'll watch those just so that I'm going into the episode with a little bit of information on what's going to be happening. You know, because Magnum's kind of like, you know, it can be a little slow. It's a fantastic show, but it can be a little slow. So I like to go into it knowing the premise, right? So Magnum's I'm good with. A-Team, it would spoil the fights. MacGyver spoils the fights, you know, so I skip those. Okay. The half-hour power hour, ladies and gentlemen. We're going to get 3 questions answered in the half hour. All right, so we'll get rid of that question. Thank you, Funky Monk. Funky Monk is a very much an OG. In fact, that's what I was calling him for a while. Funky Monk was probably, if I go back in the subscribers and I look to see who subscribed first, Funky Monk was probably one of my first 10 subscribers, which is just beautiful, and he's still here. And he's creating his own YouTube empire. His second question is, I'm currently watching through the entire run of Mid-South Wrestling. That's awesome. Started in 1981, and I'm now up to 1984, and it is awesome. Do you have any experience or memories of this wrestling program? Okay, no. I take that back. I have experience with it. But not enough to really put anything together in my head. I would like to do exactly what you're doing and watch through those shows. They're on the WWE Network on Peacock, which we have. So I will get to them eventually. Honestly, Mid-South Championship Wrestling in the early 80s is a breeding ground for every single superstar that you came to know and love with the WWF and the NWA. A lot of WWF, right? So you get to see Hacksaw Duggan and Ted DiBiase feud before they got to the WWF. You get to see Magnum TA. You get to see Junkyard Dog, before he went on to superstardom, right? And the production value is exactly what I like out of 80s wrestling. I believe that their TV show, was their TV show a studio show? It had to have been, right? They weren't going to do live arena shows every week for a TV show. Leave a response, Funky Monk. Was their TV show studio? I believe it was. And then you got a guy like Bill Watts who's running it. And, Bill Watts, look, we're talking about Mid-South Wrestling in the 80s. Okay, so it's rough and tumble. They got some interesting angles. I don't know if Funky Monk has gotten to it yet, but there's the JYD blinding angle. Good stuff. The coal miner's glove match with Ted DiBiase and Duggan, I think. So JYD, I think, was blinded. I think Hacksaw Duggan was blinded. I mean, they always did like fire and blinding in these old Southern promotions. Definitely going to check it out. Definitely want to get into it once I get through WWF, which will take me forever. But thanks, Funky Monk, and guys, go check out 80s Slashers on YouTube. All right, this is from my man Perry, who is Life's Toy Department on YouTube. Go check him out, Life's Toy Department. You can see him in the comments, and you can go check out the stuff he's doing on his channel. He says, here is my deep question. As a fellow mental health professional and nostalgia enthusiast, I am often confronted with the idea that nostalgia can be conveyed as living in the past, with an added connotation that doing so is unhealthy. For me, a fondness for where I came from helps keep me grounded in my present life. What are your thoughts on this? Excellent. These are the kind of questions that I want. So my man Perry is a fellow mental health professional, as you may or may not know. I run my own mental health and addiction counseling practice with an employee of one, me. I am self-employed. I have been for almost 2 years now. It has changed my life completely. And I've been in the field for about 20 years doing mental health and addiction counseling. And he says that the idea of nostalgia can be perceived as living in the past, which can be perceived as unhealthy. Am I living in the past? Sure. Yeah, maybe. but I'm also living in the present, right? So I think humans made up words and phrases that just stuck, right? Like living in the past. You know, somebody says that, somebody creates that phrase a gazillion years ago to, you know, to come down on somebody. You're living in the past, right? And so it's taken on a negative connotation. When the phrase doesn't make any sense, right? You can't actually live in the past. It's just something that humans said, and then we spun it towards negative, and now we think it's a negative thing whenever it's said, live in the past. Just like when people say, well, you got to get over that. You know, you got to get over it. What does get over it mean, right? We just made up that phrase, it's stuck, and we think that it's an actual thing that we can do, right? Humans can't get over something. It's not a real thing, right? So living in the past, I don't take things like that seriously because they can't actually be done. Do I live in the past? Sometimes. Sometimes if I come down here and hang out with you, my mind is thinking about the past. I'm not really thinking about the current right now. I'm thinking about the past. Am I living in the past? You can't. Now, I think that you can have a relationship with anything as long as it's healthy and as long as it doesn't interfere with your activities of daily living, right? If you're a functioning adult, if you are gainfully employed or paid by the government for whatever reason, if you are functioning, if you are contributing to society in some form or another, then you're okay, right? You're healthy. As long as your behavior doesn't interfere horribly with your ability to function, I'm okay with it, right? You want to have a few beers? Hey, as long as you don't get a DWI, as long as you don't lose your job because you were drunk, as long as you don't beat your kids because you were drunk, you want to have a few beers, and if it causes you zero problems in life, it's not a problem, right? Living in the past has not caused me any problems in the current. It's cost me money, but that's not a problem, right? I have successfully created children. They are semi-healthy, right? Relatively healthy. I've bought a house, right? I have money. I have started my own practice. Those are all healthy, functioning things. And I've done that all while having this obsession with childhood and toys and things of a particular decade. So I'm not living in the past in an unhealthy way. I'm living in the past when it's time to come down here and live in the past. Otherwise, I'm, pretty much in the present, right? So no, I don't think it's a negative thing. I don't think it's an unhealthy thing. Keep your today life going as good as you can with the abilities that you have, whatever those abilities are or aren't. Do as best you can right now with what you have. And if you want to live in the past for a little while, go ahead and do it. If you want to live in the past for a long while, go ahead and do it, as long as it doesn't horribly interfere with the present. Right? That's my thoughts on that. Great questions. He says, my not-so-deep question, with all of the recent 80s action figure reboots and re-releases like He-Man, Ghostbusters, G.I. Joe, etc., would you be up for a Wrestling Superstars re-release with all of the original wrestlers represented? Thanks, man. Love your channel. Life's Toy Department. Love you too. Thanks for your question. If you look around this room, there are little to no re-release stuff. Down here. Yeah, I'm looking around my room. There's little to no re-released stuff down here. The Karate Kid not Super 7. What are those? Reaction figures? Which I hate that company. These are actually a gift. I can't stand that Reaction company. I just think they're junk and it's ridiculously overpriced. But I have the Karate Kid set. I guess that would be like a modern re-release. But other than that, I have nothing re-released. I never got any of the Ghostbusters stuff. I didn't get any of the G.I. Joe stuff. So while it's nice to see in the stores, I'm not buying it at all. I bought some of the G.I. Joes for my kid. He wasn't interested in Liam wasn't interested in the Ghostbusters stuff. They have the proton packs and the PKE meters and the Ghost Trappers. I got those for them. They were into those. But they were never into the figures. Liam collected a few of the new G.I. Joes, the taller, the 6-inch ones. He had those on display for a while, but he's, losing interest in those. So would I want a WWF Wrestling Superstars line? Yes. Yes, and you say with all of the original with all the original wrestlers represented. No. I wouldn't, because I would not buy another Greg Valentine if it was the exact same figure. And I probably wouldn't buy it if it was like a different posed Greg Valentine. However, there are tons of wrestlers that were not made for the Wrestling Superstars line. And I would love those. They would have to be made in the exact same form as the original LJNs. The Jakks LJN-esque figures were garbage, right? They were about an inch smaller, and they were very hard rubber, and they were very cartoony and very silly. They were terrible. Jazzwares and AEW are doing a retro line in LJN style. You saw that with the Young Bucks. I didn't buy the Young Bucks. I don't want the Young Bucks in LJN form. That's silly to me. Their poses were terrible. I heard they were harder rubber, and I'm not sure if they're 8 inches. They might be 7 inches, which is junk, right? And now with this upcoming line, there's actually a Cody Rhodes LJN style figure coming out as part of the retro AEW line. And it honestly looks fantastic. It looks like an LJN. It's got a perfect LJN body type. I do not know if it's 7 inches. I do not know if it's semi-pliable rubber or if it's hard rubber. I don't know. But I would want that line to come back absolutely if it was a true retro line and they created figures that they didn't make for the original line. Yes, I know they've probably got to do a Randy Savage and a Hulk Hogan and an Ultimate Warrior. I know they've probably got to put names out there that people will buy, because you're not going to put a Bad News Brown on the shelf and people are going to buy it in a toy store. People like me will buy it through the mail, but we're not going to walk into Target and my kid, Liam is not going to want a Bad News Brown LJN style figure, right? Those are going to be for collectors. So I know that you have to put some bigger names out there, and go ahead and do that. Just slide in a name that was never made. And I think I think some toy lines have dropped the ball with that. I think Classic Superstars, Jakks Classic Superstars, failed miserably by making a Trish Stratus and a Matt Hardy and an RVD, LJN style figure, which weren't even close to the original line. So, did I answer that? Yes, I would like it. They have to be exact. They have to be the same size. And they have to create figures that weren't made, and they have to stop at a particular era. Okay, I don't want a Razor Ramon LJN. I know he's closer to our era, but I don't want that. I want you to stop at probably 90 or so. All right, thank you very much, Life's Toy Department, for that. Let's take a look at the time here and see where we're at. Okay, well, we have gone over the 30-minute mark. So the half-hour power hour has turned into the 38-minute power hour. So we are going to stop here, and we have tons of questions to go. So if you want to get featured on an episode, get your questions in now, because I've got probably 3 or 4 more shows of questions to go. Get them in now. We're going to keep it to a half hour. I didn't have a timer this time, and I can't see the clock. So we're going to keep it to a half hour. This one went over. email the questions to TN80R questions at gmail.com. Include your YouTube screen name if you would like to be identified as that. Include your real name if you would like to be identified as that. And include anything that you would like me to pimp or promote here on the show. Episode 1 is in the books. I hope you had fun. I had fun. Do I got to talk less, talk more? I don't know. We got them all in, but that's the style of this show. I'm not going to change it. I'm not going to change me. This is what we talk about. This is what we do. We go into detail. And we do it like that. We do it like that. Anyway, guys, thanks for hanging out with me. Episode 1 of the TN80sR half-hour power hour is in the books. We will see you next time. Get your questions in. Good night now.